This is Glenn from BWL. He's our
Hi, Glenn.
citizens
Nice to meet you.
from Wardcliff who got appointed. And
Oh, wonderful.
BWL.
Thank you. Appreciate you doing that.
Bill, we've talked about Wardcliff stuff for years too. I'm not that stuff yet.
Deborah? Sorry, I didn't want to get you stranded down there. She's watching on the live stream.
That doesn't help.
Say your name for a roll call. But
Right, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, that's it. Good evening, everyone. It's 6:02, and I will call this special meeting of the Township Board to order, the March 26, 2024 meeting. I am not Pat Jackson, our illustrious supervisor. I am standing in her absence as Supervisor Pro Tem. So we will go ahead and get along with our agenda this evening. The first thing is to have the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please rise to join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Guthrie, if you would please call the roll.
Supervisor Jackson is not present. Supervisor Pro Tem Hendrickson.
Here.
Clerk Guthrie is here. Treasurer DeShane.
Here.
Trustee Wilson. Here. Trustee Trezise.
Here.
And Trustee Sumlin. 6 board members are present. Supervisor Jackson is absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we've got somewhat of an informal meeting this evening. We're going to go ahead and get things started off with a presentation from the Township Manager, Manager Walsh, about our 2023 goals and our 2024 upcoming goals. If you haven't already gotten food, we've got turkey and ham sandwich boxed lunches from Honey Baked Ham. Please feel free. And at the very beginning, I'll just say thank you to everyone for joining us. We're very excited to have you all here tonight. It's a great group of people who use these. And so with that, I think I've vamped long enough to get our technology up and running. We'll turn things over to Township Manager Walsh.
Thank you, Supervisor Pro Tem, and thank you all for being here this evening. I want to thank Samantha Deal, who's not in the room right now, but she made it possible at the last second today to have this meeting televised. I want to thank my executive assistant, Michelle Prince, who planned the whole thing. Appreciate that. I want to just talk a little bit about 2023 and 2024 and try to do that 2 years in about 10 minutes. So one of the things that the township's really done well over the last 10 years is eliminate debt. You have a copy of this in front of you. But if you look back at 2023, our township pension fund was 68% funded. And you can see the debt of $1.7 million, retiree health care, $4 million in debt, 54% funded, and our township pension fund, 56. That township pension fund at the bottom put us on the state list as a watch list because we were below 60%. Over the last 10 or 11 years, the boards have done a really good job. And now you can see that the township pension plan is 100% funded, and the retiree health care went from 54 to 92% funded, and our township pension fund is now 74% funded, and we've eliminated significant debt. This just shows you the amount of debt in each category of what we've eliminated. This shows you the promise that we've made to reducing our debt. We were significantly in debt in 2013, significantly. And as you can see, our required contribution to our pension fund is $3.4 million. We're actually putting in 5.7 this year. We're putting in 2.3 million more than what's required to pay down our debt and continue. We are paying down on an anticipated 5% rate of return instead of what MERS recommends is 7%. Our fund balance back in 2013 was $5 million, just over $5 million, and today it's over $14 million. Some of that perhaps set aside for the community senior center that we're all anticipating and working on. The taxable value of the community, that's the value of the entire community. An interesting, interesting chart here is that if you take the total value of Meridian Township and you take the total value of East Lansing and Delhi Township, both of those combined, which is about 80,000 people, we're 45,000 people here. Our taxable value exceeds them combined. Our debt chart, as you can see, we've eliminated from 2013 to 2024, we've eliminated $17 million in debt. And that is how we pay cash for the farmer's market. That's how we pay cash for everything that we do, because we've eliminated so much debt, our cash flow now allows us to pay cash. The board in front of you and the board before you, the two boards before you, have taken on no debt in the last decade. 2023, what did the board say? There was 3 goals that we had, and that was to look at the senior and community center and potential of building a new center. As you know, our senior center is going away in 3 years, going to be demolished as part of a school project. And phase 1 and 2 of the MSU to Lake Lansing pathway, and improved communications, enhanced communications with our residents. We're taking a look. This is not what we're envisioning here. This is the Portage, Michigan Overlake Kalamazoo Community Senior Center. But one of the things we're looking at is what's the next step for the senior center? What do we do? How do we combine it? We're looking at different sites. We're looking at all kinds of things right now. Trustee Wilson chairs that group. We cut the ribbon. If you haven't been on the pathway, it's really a great place. It connects Hagedorn over by the music building over to Foods for Living. It's 1 mile one way, and it is a beautiful path if you haven't been on it. Paid for in cash. Citizen outreach and communication. We've started a new show, Good Morning Meridian. This board held 6 listening sessions in September, October, and November. Over 320 citizens came out to those listening sessions. One of the outcomes was the improvements to Marshall Park, which we'll get to. The local road program continues. We're working to improve our PASA rating and keep our promise to the residents. What we said we would do in 2017, we have done, or 2019 for the roads, we have done every year. We're in our 5th year of the program. Diversity, equity, and inclusion continues to be an effort on our part, something it's very important to this board and the community, and we had our first Pride event. And we continue with our Juneteenth events. This will be the 3rd one. That'll take place in the middle of June. Economic development. After years and years of working on development up in Hazlet, you can see great progress at the 4 corners. New Crumble Cookies, which is down on Grand River, not too far from Hobby Lobby. And the Jackson Popcorn Company opening in the mall. Other developments, Copper Creek up in Hazlet, phase 3 and 4 moving forward. The American House is at the 4 corners. That's the 4-story building at the Hazlet Village Square. Trader Joe's opens in about 90 days. And Consumers Credit Union. Affordable housing, another goal of this commission, and you can check the box there. This is behind Whole Foods, 49 affordable housing units that has a waiting list already. The Village of Okemos, a project that hasn't moved along. The things I can tell you about that very briefly is we have no public money invested in this project. No public money. So all the risk is on the developers. However, this board has committed more public money to this project than any project in the history of the township. But that is through TIF districts, tax increment financing, where the developer builds, pays a lot of taxes, and those taxes are reimbursed for cleanup and all of that sort of thing. So no public money in this project, but plenty of future public money if they end up building. And we're working on that, but they've got to commit. It cannot be just another apartment building. It has to be so much more, and this board is committed to that strongly. Hazlet Village Square, this is the 20 acres next to the 4-story building in Hazlet, which is going to be a nice attraction. We're meeting with the developers in a couple of weeks. Environmental sustainability continues to be a goal of this board and the entire township and the Environmental Commission, and we're working on a wetland improvement program. Public safety, huge concerns with our staffing in our police department. We fell way behind there, so we've invested quite a bit of money in our building. And this is a public safety recruitment retention program. This is very significant. On the right hand is the number of slots open to be a paramedic, which is 36, and we're full. On the other side, on the left hand of the screen, is the police department, where we should have 42 budgeted, and we were down to 31 with 2 retirements coming up. So we were facing 29. There's no way we can police the community with 29 officers. This board developed a very robust program. When our police officers are showing up to target, and the people at Target are making more than our police officers, there's a problem. And this board addressed that, and our officers now, within 4 years, can top out at $80,000. And we just signed another officer today. We've hired 6 officers in the last 60 days. The program is working. We're now in 37, 38, and we were at 31. So this is probably the thing. We are really proud of what we've done with our public safety program. Our police department's been reaccredited this past January. Our 12th warning siren went up in 2023. We've come a long way with that. We need 16 sirens to finish this program. We've been working on it. It's $30,000 a siren. Here's the map of when we're completely finished. This is a map of what the emergency siren program will look like. Police Canine, Officer Trevino with Reno. Yes, it does rhyme, but that's the name of the dog that we just received about 4 months ago, and Officer Trevino, and now we have 2 canines in the township. We're really proud of our retention of our staff here. We have 159 positions in the township, and excluding police, we have 1 vacancy, but we made a conditional offer of employment to that person, that opening today, so we could be at 100% occupancy here soon. We have a new finance director, Dante Iani, a local resident who came to us from the state of Michigan. A new Parks and Rec director, Courtney Wazinski. I want to thank Mary Nardo Ferris for her work as chair of the Parks Commission, who served on that committee. Thank you for doing that. Our new chief of police, Rick Grillo, he's been with the department for 21 years. He's done a phenomenal job in his first few months, really leading the program and boosting our numbers. We're going to be one of those departments, it's very rare in Michigan. We're going to have 30% of our department females by year 2030. We're probably going to hit it in 2025. We're way ahead of the curve in the diversity end. In June, the board authorized a storm, remember the huge storms that went through, the tornadoes in Williamston? They authorized a storm removal program, debris removal program. We just worked with the state government through the federal government. It looks like we're going to get every dollar reimbursed from that. Hazlet School Resource Officer Colby Cassidy, who happens to be a Hazlet graduate, is now assigned through a program, through some federal funds, to be the school resource officer. The improvements to the historical village, the improvements to the Harris Nature Center and the facade, all this is done in cash. And the improvements to the police locker rooms, I wish you, well, no, I don't wish you could have. Enjoy that vision, because the vision of our locker rooms before, not good. Community sign project, probably one of the most important things that we've done in the township over the last couple years. Really important project, and Deputy Manager Opsimer and Director Massey led that project. It's been great. Okay, that's 2023. 2024, what do we want to do? Public safety, the Community Senior Center, environmental sustainability, parks and trails, and DEI. Enhanced public safety, the recruitment and retention program, which is working extremely well. We want to get to full staffing by December of this year. We're going to probably hit full staffing here in the next 90 days. That's how well it's going. We have an issue at the fire station, the central fire station up here. We've hired, it's a good problem to have. We have hired a lot of female paramedics, and they are doing a great job for us. We have an issue in the dormitory where the sleeping quarters are not conducive right now, and it's not fair to have be putting females in the community room and putting a bunk in there. And so this board is working towards adding on to the fire station and adding some dormitory with 8 rooms in there to make it more friendly for everyone at the station. This board has also approved, we've been waiting for the 1 siren at a time. This board has approved the expenditure in cash of all 4 of the sirens that we need to be replaced. So this year, we will actually complete a program that was supposed to be finished in 2028, and we'll finish that. And again, here's the map. The end this year, and that program will be finally completed a few years ahead of time. Community Senior Center, we're analyzing costs, amenities, where it will be located. A senior center in a few years, so it's a big project. It's a lot of effort that's going into that. Environmental sustainability, we looking at solar, another solar project, our 5th one, our wetland project. Here's the solar projects that we've done over time. And I want to say, I see Georgia Steica here. The first solar project was pushed by our former supervisor, Ron Steica. He pushed it. If you look at this, the solar project out here at the corner, that was the first one we did. And Ron liked to refer to it as the Steica Solar Project. So just ask him, he would tell you. The Parks and Trails and Recreation, the Central Pavilion is going to be undergoing some work out here. It's 50 years old and needs some work, and that's the Park Commission working on that. And on the right, of course, is the pathway. Here's a project I mentioned earlier that came out of our listening sessions. Marshall Park up in Hazlet, very north end of the community, will be seeing a brand new park and hopefully cutting a ribbon in June. This project was on our list, but not on our list until 2026. But the board said, after listening sessions, they listened to the community up there, and this is one of the things that was brought out. So the money was set up for this year. And these are some of the things that we're looking forward to as we move forward, updating some of our job descriptions and personnel handbook and our infrastructure plan. We are way behind on our water meter project. We have about 400 to 600 meters that are inoperable in the township out of 14,000. We have 9,000 meters, new meters going in the next 3 years. So as we look at everything, it's not just about signs and nice pathways and stuff. It's also about maintaining our infrastructure, our roads and our water and our sewer. So that's 2 years of efforts on behalf of the township and 10 years of effort on our financial end. That's all I have, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Manager Walsh. All right, next up on our agenda is item 5, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Treasurer DeShane, supported by Trustee Wilson. Any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any approval? The agenda passes. All right, so next up is our joint meeting with our township boards and commissions. Again, thank you all for being here. This is such a valuable time to get to sit with you all and hear from you about what it is that your boards and commissions are doing. Obviously, you've had an opportunity to hear from Manager Walsh about what it is that we've been up to for the last year and have planned for the year to come. Couple of notes. We're going to have each group come up and give us a brief update as to, in the room, a brief update, I should say, as to what it is that you've been up to. We would ask that you please come up to the podium as we are televising tonight on home TV. And because there are so many, there are 16 terrific boards and commissions who are represented here tonight. We'd ask that you please keep your comments to about 5 minutes if you could. That way we'll all get out of here before it gets too dark outside. So with that being said, I'd like to ask our first representatives up to the podium, and that's from the Capital Area District Library. We have our branch manager, Tom Moore, for Hazlet and Okemos, and the new executive director for the Capital Area District Library is Jenny Marr. Welcome.
As you said, my name's Tom Moore. I'm the regional head librarian for the Capital Area District Libraries to manage the Hazlet and Okemos branches, so our 2 Meridian libraries here. And our new executive director as of January, Jenny Marr, is joining me today. Well, since I've been here, I'll just cover all my fun things. I wanted to just thank you all for the invitation to be a part of this community conversation with the township, to learn about your goals and achievements is something that's really important to us. And we believe that the library is an important piece of what makes our community great here. When a lot of people think about the libraries, they think about books, and we certainly have those. But I like to think about the connections that we make in the community, right? We connect people to resources, and we connect people to each other and to the community as a whole. And it's those connections that really make it possible for us to have people that feel like they are not just living in a place, but they're a part of the place that they're living in, right? And so we spend a lot of time focusing on our collections, those resources that we're offering, and our connections, right? What are we doing with our events and our services? As far as the collections go, last year we circulated over 2 million items. That's books, movies, music, digital materials, our popular Library of Things collection. And we're working hard all the time to make sure that that's a robust collection that has all the popular materials that people are looking for, but also all of it has enough depth and nuance and variety to feature all the topics that our communities are also interested in, all those niche topics as well. One of our major goals when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, one of our major goals for Cattle is to build a collection that reflects the diversity in our communities. And we've been working on that for several years. And so we've been shifting some of our purchasing practices and how we are working in our libraries to display and recommend titles so that when people come into the building, they aren't just feeling welcome to use our resources and welcome in our spaces, but they're feeling like they can see themselves reflected in our shelves, in the materials that we have on our digital platforms. And that's an important aspect in what I think is our evolution as a library. When we talk about the connections that we're making with the community, again, we talk about our events, our outreach services, the spaces that we have in the library. Last year, we had nearly 800 events at our two libraries with almost 13,000 people in attendance. So we are busy, thriving places in the community, and we're working to build those connections up that people can have. Our programs extend from like our baby times to our very youngest residents, from 0 to 1.5, all the way to our seniors with our book discussions, our euchre groups, and crafting groups, and so on, lectures and presentations. In our spaces, as many of you know, people are coming to read. They're also coming to use our computers and technology, to print, to use our Wi-Fi. They're coming to study at all of our tables, right? If you visit the Okemos Library on any given day, you will see different people out at those tables in the space, working on projects, working to run their businesses, meeting with tutors, especially in Okemos tutors. And at Hazlitt, we have a different challenge of being a safe space for our after-school population, being positioned right near the Raleigh Elementary School, the Hazlitt Middle School, and the Hazlitt High School. We see 30 to 40 teens after school every day, sometimes spiking up to 60 to 80 kids. And so a lot of the discussions we have as a staff at that building are how do we manage those behaviors after school, but how do we offer the events and services for everyone, keeping in mind how that impacts those hours between 2:30 and 5, 6 o'clock when they're there. So in addition to that, in addition to all of the events that we're doing, we have 2 rooms, one at each building, that is usable by the community, and we've saw 420 room reservations over the last year by community groups and organizations. And those rooms are free to use for nonprofits. And we were out at 200 outreach events last year as well, working with groups like Grange Acres, Brookdale Senior Living, the Friends of Historic Meridian. We were at several township events, including the Wednesday evening farmers market, which was one of our favorites, and the incredible Pride event that was in August. That was a top-notch event, and we were really proud to be a part of it. Being an active and engaged community partner is one of the things that is really important to us at Cattle, and especially important to myself. So we're proud to be here tonight and to continue to look to see how we can not only support our individuals and families, but also our organizations and the municipalities in our service areas. So when we talk about looking forward, last year was our 25th anniversary. We spent a good amount of the year looking back at all the things we've accomplished in those last 25 years. And now with Jenny here kind of at the helm and me here in Meridian Township, we're looking forward to see where this next chapter of Cattle's story goes. But no matter what, the library is a valuable resource in the community. We're part of what makes our community special and unique, and hopefully what makes Meridian a prime community. So we're glad to be a part of it. Thank you so much for having us.
And I just want to say briefly, it's such a pleasure to be here. A little bit about me. I'm from this area. My family's all here. So even though I'm new to cattle, I'm not new to the Lansing area. So, we're excited from a standpoint of cattle that this is a new strategic planning year, because I'm sure you all noticed the last few years have been a little weird. Like, it's been hard to have a year-to-year comparison on how things work. So we really feel like this is going to be a great year to have conversations with all of our communities. The benefit of cattle is it gives excellent library service to all communities, but every community within cattle is unique. They have their own, services. They have their own needs they go through, and it's such a such a privilege to be able to have those conversations throughout this year as we build our strategic plan, and we'll be counting on everybody in our communities to contribute to that and to help us out with that. But I'm really looking forward to us being able to look forward finally, because I feel like we've been reacting and healing the last few years, and so it's nice to finally feel like we've turned a corner. Now we can plan into the future, and we're excited to be doing that and working with our municipal partners on that. So thank you for having us, and it's so nice to meet all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have our Lansing Board of Water and Light Township Representative, Brian Pillar.
Thank you very much. My name is Brian Pillar. I'm a resident of the Wardcliff neighborhood, just on the west side of the township here. And I have to say I have a tough time following Tom and Jenny after that. That's a great update from them. I am not nearly as organized, so my apologies on that. My time at the Board of Water and Light started over the summer and is going to continue here until the end of this summer, and I'll get to that here in just a minute. My efforts so far have really been focused on trying to understand the scope of the board's operations and how much of an operation that really is. They provide 4 major services, electric, water, but also chilled water and steam to a lot of folks. As far as Meridian Township residents and businesses go, we've got a fraction of our folks being provided services by the Board of Water and Light, about 1,200 accounts for power, and a small number of accounts for water on the commercial side. The Board of Water and Light's efforts over the next, for the last few years and over the next couple of years are really going to be focused around sustainability, clean energy, renewable energy, and those things. There is an effort to put in what's referred to as a RICE engine, and of course I remember that when I can't remember what the acronym stands for. But it is it's not a clean energy source, but the point of it is actually to respond to demand quickly when it comes to power. Power is one of those things that General Manager Dick Pepley often refers to is generated, transmitted, and consumed all within a fraction of a second. They don't have any place or any ability to store it well, so having the ability to spin up a generation system such as that RICE engine in a matter of moments as opposed to hours for some of the other systems that they have available to them. So that's the point of that. All in all, their efforts are heading tremendously into that green energy area, which is great to see. My term, as I was getting to, is going to be ending with as an advisory commissioner to the Board of Water and Light this summer, I think June 30. And that's as a result of the City of Lansing charter. They have a rotation between a couple of the other local townships that serve in that capacity. I believe that Meridian Township will then have representation again in coming summer of 26. My hope is to figure out ways to stay involved with the Board of Water and Light, make sure that I can gather some information, and then find appropriate avenues to share it back to our residents in Meridian, and of course, our board here, to make sure that we can share that information as quickly as we can. So I think that is going to hit on all my topics. Thank you very much.
All right, next up are our friends at the Parks Commission. We have the chair, Mary Nardo Ferris. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Mary Nardo Ferris. I'm the current chair of the Park Commission. I've been really honored to serve. Even though I started just before COVID, it's been a lot of fun, a lot different though. I'm going to provide you some highlights of what the department and what the Park Commission and support of the Park Commission, what we've been doing. And one of the things is, in our mission statement, our vision statement, we are creating community through people's parks and programs. And the most meaningful and valuable part of this is really our staff as they work in the township, the hardworking staff, their dedicated work in concert, and then the support of residents and the passionate friends groups and partnerships that we have here. It's really outstanding what they are doing. The biggest thing this past year in the department was transition of our director. Our long-tenured dear Luann Maisner, after 24 years, decided that she was going to retire. So we hired our new director, Courtney Wazinski, and Courtney has already brought her energy and positive attitude and her organizational skills to the role. It's a change, and everything she has brought is fitting really well so far. The commission is committed to helping support both Courtney and the staff of Parks and Recreation to transition through this next year. It's really tough when you lose someone that's been there that long, particularly someone else outstanding as Luann, who actually built that department. So we know that we just want to make sure that we're there as they transition through this next year. As far as other department staff for administration programs and maintenance, they have remained stable, so we've been fortunate in that regard. On the operations and small projects front, we had a really busy 2023, and that's carrying into 2024. As far as Harris Nature Center programming, it's continuing to grow and expand in their activities and what their offerings are. Providing environmental education, outdoor recreation, wildlife viewing, and their accessible trails and walkways. They had another successful year with over 4,100 program participants and over 4,500 drop-in visitors. And that's in addition to the informal use of the trails in that area. They also hosted 2 native plant sales. There's also a very active Harris Nature Center Foundation there. They've hosted the Turtle Toast event that featured live music. It's a lot of fun if you haven't had the opportunity to go before. Funded 9 school bus scholarships for 484 students. And they also have provided, in conjunction with Kiwanis, new play equipment there. Something interesting that they've done too is they provided clothing and a clothing bank. Some of the kids that come out for the field trips don't have the appropriate outdoor clothing, so they're able to loan or provide those to them to take home with them. Another interesting thing at Harris Nature Center was last year, the exterior upgrades that were completed, and that included new paint on the brick and stonework on the front to match the new pavilion and the restroom structure that was put in there, and that's looking very nice. As far as the farmers market, that has grown dramatically since it's moved over to Marketplace, both in terms of vendor participation and the visitors that are showing up there. It's really a regional draw anymore, and it's really fun to see that. There were over 64 market days and over 70,000 visitors just this past year. There's been over 250,000 visitors in the last 3 years. Some of the highlights included 145 unique vendors that were there, 7,000 pounds of food that was donated by the farmers and customers for local pantries and soup kitchens. 40 musicians have participated there on the Wednesdays and Saturday nights, and 150 hours of volunteer support. In addition, cattle joined us every Wednesday. Joined every other Wednesday evening and brought their mobile library and an activity station for kids and families, and that was well enjoyed. Our land preservation program is in partnership with the Environmental Commission, has new wetland ordinance and educational signage that they've installed, and I think Frank has pointed to some of that. And in this was last year, in just special areas of some of those public lands, along with rules signage citing the land preservation ordinance, and that was put in all of the land preserves. The highlight of the land preservation program was the acquisition of a 2.71 acre new parcel for the program on Cornell Road across from Cornell Elementary there. The stewardship program is doing a great job. The volunteer and Meridian Conservation Corps is growing strong and has 300 community volunteer members, and they show up quite frequently. It's kind of amazing to see the different things that they do. They logged in over 750 volunteer hours and over 70 stewardship days. They do things like invasive species removal, native plantings, picking up trash, education on the wetlands and the flora and fauna. They also have partnered with the Michigan Waterways Stewards for a community-wide Red Cedar River cleanup and collaborated with East Lansing to remove trash from a 1-mile area. They've had 3 prescribed burns, and wetlands education activities continue. As far as recreation programs, they're very active. We have outstanding staff in that area, have continued. I think Mike's been here for maybe 23 years, almost as long as Luann. So the youth and adult sports program continue with a large number of participants in a variety of activities. It's not just for the youth, it's also a vital link in connecting parents and neighbors to each other through practices or games. It's a really great way to get to know your neighbors. The youth sports for kindergarten through 8th grade had over 2,200 participants just last year in a variety of sports. Other programs have included Sporties for Shorties, adult softball, pickleball courts at Hillbrook and Towner are very popular, and a fitness over 50 exercise group. In addition to that, there's been special events that are really well attended, and they've been throughout the community and most often at the marketplace. That includes a Halloween spectacular at the market that had 230 kids and families participating, a mom-to-mom garage sale, music at the market, which averaged about 250 people in the audience on those nights, and had a total of 23 weeks of live music. They've been expanding it. They've been great at encouraging people to come and also in getting people to play. They had yappy hours. There were dog park parties and Halloween parties for pups also, flashlight Easter egg hunt, and then a running club that they participate in. Our largest event last year was Celebrate Meridian, and that was a community-wide celebration, was a result of a team effort by almost every department within the township and the generosity of the local businesses and the volunteers. It took place on Marketplace of the Green in Central Park with live music, beer, wine, tent, food trucks, children's games, and a fireworks finale, and that's going to continue this year also. The Heritage Festival took place in October at the Meridian Historic Village and was hosted by the Friends, by the Friends of Historic Meridian Nokomis Cultural Center. The reopening, one of the highlights for the rec program has been the reopening and programming at Snell Tower Rec Center that had been closed for a number of years. We've been staffing that on afternoons and getting the participation for that is growing. There's a variety of programs that are offered in the afternoon. Sometimes they have vinyl nights, which are geared towards adults and playing records. And then there are other nights where they have the kids that can drop in, and that serves that area of the community very well. And they also have a program where there are neighbors that come and read to the kids that want to drop in and participate there, and that's been a nice addition. They had a July open house and an August block party. The senior center is an important element of our prime community and a place for individuals to engage and be socially active. And last year, it served close to 300 individuals that were there in 1,500 programs. And it'll be exciting moving forward to see, as the senior center and its recreations are incorporated into the new senior and community center. On the parks and pathways maintenance, the crew does a great job there. They're a fairly small crew, but they handle everything from mowing, tree trimming, park trash, snow removal, chipping trees, mulching, watering the beds, dog parks maintenance, event setups and takedowns, all sorts of things, and they're kept very busy. But in addition to that, they also tackle some of the small maintenance projects. Those this past year included, they constructed multiple dumpsters and porta-johns so that they were better in appearance. They constructed a hawk cage renovation at the Harris Nature Center. They provided upgrades to the backstops at baseball and softball fields. They conducted playground inspections and made repairs as necessary. And they worked with the Hazlet Okemos Kiwanis Club to install benches in many of the parks. They also assembled and installed a new shade structure at Towner Road Park. The Meridian Historic Village, we had a condition survey of the structures conducted there last year, the year before. That's providing a guidance on what projects there need to be prioritized. The Township Parks and Rec Department was able to financially assist the Friends, because that area is actually under lease to the Friends Group, with some repairs due to a one-time infusion of funds from ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. Some of these projects included the roof replacement at the Grettenberg Farmhouse, Barnes House, and the barn, exterior painting of the chapel and the schoolhouse, replacement of heaved sidewalk sections, interior lights for the chapel were replaced with LED lighting, and then structural and electrical improvements were also made to the barn there. So that's gradually being brought up to a better maintenance standard. Ferguson Park improvements that were done included a new roof to the restroom building and new picnic tables. Marketplace windscreens were installed on Marketplace, because that got, if you've ever been there in the cold, it got very windy and sometimes overly sunny. And at the large dog park, a fence was added down the middle of the dog parks to divide it in half so that the turf could last a little longer. And new sidewalk was also constructed from Marketplace over to the dog park to make it more accessible and safer to access there. The upcoming projects, large projects that we have in our capital improvement program, there's a couple large ones, or high-profile ones, and I'll just go over a little bit of what Frank said. The first one is Marshall Park. The playground replacement there. It was on our list, but we were able to receive an additional allotment of $150,000 in general funds to move that up first, or a little further up the list. So it's going to be done this year by June, and that's been exciting. Sinclair Recreation has been contracted to design and install the equipment, and as part of that, they also are partnering with a National Demonstration Site program, which was interesting. And what that does is provide us more resources for accessibility and the best practices for taking care of parks. If you haven't seen the new inclusive park playground downtown in Lansing, right across from LCC, it's really worth your visit. Sinclair was involved in constructing that, and it's really interesting. It's good for adults, it's good for kids. Many people that have varying abilities are not small children, and so it provides a lot of different opportunities, and they've included a whole lot of really innovative things. So we're looking forward to seeing some of that incorporated at Marshall Park also. The second high-profile project is Central Park Pavilion, which Frank touched on. That also is going to be completed this year. I think that's mid-June. And that's for renovations and the improvements there. Some of the things that will include replacement of the wall boards, adding sliding glass barn doors on the north and south ends, so for wind primarily, the ceiling replacement, LED light fixtures, the roof replacement, and Nielsen Construction is the contractor with that work completed in mid-June. We have other things on the list for engineering and construction this year that include, we're going to finish off the new entrance signs at the remaining park locations, additional windscreens at Marketplace, historic village building and repair maintenance will continue, river cleanup with Ingham County, engineering designs for the new Okemos Road property that was recently acquired that's west of the service center over there, the Launch Park Kayak Launch Engineering, and the Okemos Road Underbridge Walkway Construction Engineering. Some of the big events then will be the 50th anniversary celebrations for both the Farmers Market and the Friends of Historic Meridian this year. The Farmers Market is going to be back outdoors May 4th, and they will have their celebration sometime in June. And the Historic Meridian anniversary is scheduled for Sunday, May 5th. And Celebrate Meridian is scheduled for June 28th through 29th, with the 28th being the teen program, and staff is already gearing up to support that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. As you can see, lots of stuff going on with the Parks Commission. We very much appreciate all that hard work. Next up is our Planning Commission. I'm told that we have Chair Alisanne Shrewsbury and the entirety of the Planning Commission. So we can't talk about anything that's on your agenda, or else we're going to get into Open Meetings Act issues. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you, please, Vice Chair Snyder. So yes, I'm Alice Ann Shrewsbury. I am a newly elected Chair of the Planning Commission with my Vice Chair Christina Snyder and our entire commission membership here. And if you thought that following the library board was hard, I think following the Parks Commission is even harder because the planning is not quite as fun as parks. But anyway, the Planning Commission was busy in the last year. We had a lot. We lost a member to the Township Board after losing another member to the Township Board before that. So we keep shrinking. But we had a lot of things going on. There were a couple of ordinance updates, as well as 49 new applications submitted for review, 18 of which came before the Planning Commission. So we had a lot of things to consider. The 3 ordinance text amendments that were approved eventually that came through the Planning Commission were related to the adult use marijuana in the township and the 5 zones that were established to allow those uses. And then we also did some adjustments to the ordinance to allow for the recertification of the redevelopment ready community certification for the township to allow for speedier development through access to state funds and things like that. We also did an update to the Conservancy District to allow administrative approval of small floodplain disturbances and allow decks in the floodplain by right as opposed to requiring a special use permit for those. So we also considered, and again, not as fun as parks, but we had 5 rezoning requests that the commission reviewed and looked at those. This changes the actual zoning ordinance in the township when those are approved. Of those 5, we approved, or recommended approval, those are approved by the board, but we recommended approval of 3, recommended denial of 1, and 1 is carrying forward to this year for consideration. And then we did a big thing last year that's a culmination of a couple years of work, which was the revision of the township's master plan. So we had a lot of input on that from citizens. This wasn't a major revision of the master plan. It was really just some tweaking to update it, revise the goals and objectives, and make those a little bit more streamlined. We didn't make too many changes to the future land use map, but had a few things, one of which was something that's going to be part of our goal for the coming year, which was to designate the Meridian Mall as a potential intensity change area, or a PICA district, to look at what might be possible there and take some opportunities for development at the mall area. We also had a couple of other minor changes to the future land use map. And then made some other, again, sort of minor wonky changes to the urban service boundary within the township. And I think that is it. We also talked a little bit about looking at where, knowing that we are continuing to grow in the township, looking at sort of the build-out map and what land in the township is still available to be developed. So that was something that we'll be looking at. I think that was your initiative to ask the staff to look at that, so that was very helpful. And then, excuse me, so that's what we've done. And then just recently at our meeting, we set some priorities for ourselves for the coming year. So what we're going to be looking at is updating potentially, or looking at updates to the off-street parking ordinance for the township. Well, excuse me, reviewing ADA access standards and how those align to that's sort of an overlay of all of the work that we're doing. And then an update potentially to the landscape ordinance, as I mentioned, the mall PICA study, and then research into missing middle housing in the township. So again, not as fun and not as exciting, but it is important work, and we're all very honored to be trusted to do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we've got 4 or 5 former planning commission members on the board, so we certainly understand that while parks may have all the flash, there's lots of substance included in both, but especially at the planning commission. Next up, we have our representative from the pension board, Tanya Pratt. Come on up.
Surprise.
Good evening, everyone. I was not aware that I was given the report this evening, so Trustee DeShane, I'm hoping you may be able to assist with this, so come on up here. We had our last meeting in November, and we discussed the number of things that had been going on with the pension board in light of discovering some discrepancies in regards to former employees who may not have been notified that they were entitled to a pension. And then also, we had some that were deceased that were still listed, that we cleaned that up working with Dante once our providers came in to give us that information. In addition to that, we also looked at changing how long we project out the actuarial reports. We were originally based on a 5-year projection, was it? And so based on the recommendations of our actuaries, we reduced that to a 3-year projection, if that's correct.
That's right.
Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, there are two pensions, really. There's the MERS pension, which all employees are now enrolled in, and the old pension board. And this board that Tanya serves on is the old pension. And Manager Walsh reported a few minutes ago, that pension is 100% funded, and there are no active employees in it. So that was many $1 million short in 2013. How many million? Yeah, so we've made up that deficit. That money is stable, and we're looking at a 3-year rolling average rather than a 5-year rolling average, so it reflects the current market more. So should our investments managed by First of America fall, we will know much sooner because of a 3-year rolling cycle rather than 5. The pension is in great shape. We'll continue to monitor it. We actually we're trying to get a hold of a half dozen employees who've not yet claimed their pension, but are eligible for it. The money is there. We want to give them the pension they work for.
Correct. That concludes our report.
An excellent report for someone who was caught off guard and didn't know they'd have to give one. Thank you. Next up, we have our Downtown Development Authority, and we've got a new member, Ron Stow. Welcome, Ron. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you to everybody on the board. Unlike the Planning Commission, I think I'm the only representative here of the DDA. But a few things that we've accomplished last year. We supported Douglas J. with our first Match on Main application. We were eligible for $25,000 reimbursement grant due to our active status as a certified community and redevelopment ready. So we're proud to have funded that 10% requirement, and a total of $27,500 were invested directly into our community. We also finished the Okemos Bridge, as you know. The DDA is working on a new location and style for the Welcome to Downtown Okemos entry sign. It's going to be placed on the northbound side, on the northbound side of Okemos Road, just as you enter the downtown area at the edge of Ferguson Park. So the new sign will include an updated logo for the DDA. Sign will also have a new location, which I just mentioned, installed, and that'll be installed by the second quarter. The first facet improvement grant application has been submitted to the DDA in our efforts to play a major supporting role to assisting new or existing property owners with exterior property improvements. These improvements will enhance the district and play an inviting role to potential new enterprises. The attractiveness of the district will increase the overall feel and increase property value. The Ingham County Drain Commission, the Drain Office, has purchased 4 parcels in the downtown development area. They'll be converting them to non-taxable properties. These parcels will be immediately behind Walgreens and at the 4800 Okemos Road site, which is there in the Myers parking lot. The drain improvements have not been expressed in detail by the Drain Office. Hopefully we'll have a better idea of what's going to be completed there soon. So, the redevelopment of the village of Okemos continues with our desire to see the site in a green state. We anticipate the developer in the downtown area there will continue their commitment to be a good neighbor and grass that site this year as well. So as a new member of the Downtown Development Authority, I appreciate all of your attention here tonight, and that's what we have completed as of last year.
All righty. Next up, we have from our Environmental Commission, Bill McConnell and Andrea Paul. And maybe someone who wasn't on my list, so I apologize.
We're just trying to keep you on your toes. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill McConnell, Chair of the Environmental Commission, and I brought along one of our newest members, Andrea Paul, a recent graduate of MSU and now at Jackson National, and Dave Batten, who's going to give you a few remarks on one of my favorite programs that we're working on. So just 4 quick points. Our Climate Sustainability Action Plan revision has now been put into the fancy flip snack, which you'll all be familiar with because I know that you've all been reading the master plan in great detail. But it's the same sort of format. It's a little bit more detailed than the master plan, but we're very much looking forward to feedback. And if we can get on the board's agenda sometime this spring or summer to have a good close look at that, that'd be great. A couple of highlights. Building on what the manager was discussing about the township's efforts to increase its sustainable energy supply through solar installations, we have an ongoing program with our energy team, which is one of our many action groups that's connected to the Environmental Commission. And what they're doing is working on residential solar applications. They host solarized Meridian programs, which I can think of as a Tupperware party. If I bought a solar system and my neighbors might be interested, I invite them to my house with my installer. They can look at my system, talk with me, talk with the installer, talk with each other. If those attendees who end up purchasing a system get discounts on those purchases as a function of the number of people who purchase in the neighborhood because the contractors only have to mobilize once. What's nice about that is that in 2022, there were 6 of those meetings, 112 people showed up, and 19 of those people ended up purchasing rooftop solar systems. In 2023, 4 bigger meetings were held, 99 people showed up, and 32 systems were installed. In my business, when something that you want to have happen goes from 19 to 32 in a year, that's a great thing. So we're very much looking forward to that. I'll also point out that I don't know much about it, but I think some of the biggest solar installations in our community are going on top of some of our bigger commercial businesses, Target and maybe some others. So there's a whole third piece of the solarized issue that we should be aware of. The next thing is green grants, starting with, I believe, the treasurer's action to start planting trees at Chippewa School many years ago has evolved into a green grants program, which is now a line item in the Township Board's budget, which is growing. Anytime your funding doubles, that's a great thing. And word is getting out in the community. There's small grants typically to small schools or other community organizations to do small environmental related projects, typically education-oriented, butterfly gardens and such, and very much appreciate the Township Board's support in that program. And the last thing I want to talk about is one of the items in the Climate Sustainability Plan that's new under the revision is a focus on sustainable food systems. And there's 2 pieces to it. One is capturing food waste, and the other is getting food that would have gone unused to where it can go. There's a bit of a hierarchy in the food waste business. If you have food that's not going to be consumed in the way it was intended, number 1, try to get it to other people. Number 2, try to get it to animals. Number 3, try to compost it. The state of Michigan is now outlawing the disposal of organics in landfills. So there's a real incentive for this to happen. The industry in Michigan and throughout the Midwest is very dynamic. We've got a little program that's been going here in the township for a couple of years, and I'd like to introduce Dave Batten to describe it.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm Dave Batten, and I'm a longtime resident of the township. I and Sue Zyra are the co-chairs of the Meridian Township Farmers Market Gleaning Project. Thank you. I'll need assistance all along the way. So Tom Carey, of course, is the farmer's market manager, and he, I think, was the person with the original idea about a gleaning project for the farmer's market. And he is a great boon to both Sue Zyra and myself. Briefly, data, 2022 is our first year. We started late, a little in June, adding the Wednesday market in August, and then closing down in September. 4,740 pounds were donated, and 7 recipient agencies received that. Fortunately, there's a nice story about the Meridian Township cooler that is at the service center, which is the primary reason why we're able to run the market. Because the market operates on Saturdays, and we have an issue then with food that we collect, and it's being able to be provided or saved. The cooler is used for the deer management program, and of course that runs during the winter, and it was vacant during the summer. And so that allowed us to be able to run the market and collect food and be able to get it to recipient agencies in good condition. Subsequently, the following year, 2023, we added the idea about public participation. The previous year, those 4,740 pounds were provided by the farmers and vendors. What we did in the following year was add a opportunity for the public to participate in the donation of food going to nonprofit agencies. So our patrons at the market donated or collected 844 pounds, from which that added to the total of 6,945 pounds collected that last summer. And that was an increase of over a ton. We felt very pleased with that. What that did was make us think about the future. So what we're looking at this summer is increasing the use of the webpage and social media. We're looking at QR codes on centralized public donation boxes. That was an issue last year in terms of how to do it with the public and inform them. We're looking at prepackaged bags for donations to be able to, or for people to be able to purchase and toss into the donations. And lastly, last year we had one vendor, at the beginning of the market, they're providing plants for people to purchase in their own garden. We had one vendor suggest that, well, I have some plants, I'd like to just donate the plants. And so with that vendor's idea, we donated 16 tomato plants to Edgewood Community Village Garden. And we're looking at increasing that this year in terms of seeing if other vendors have a similar interest. Success at the market led us to the expansion of food rescue methods. In October of this year, a group of us, Val Lafferty is the site director, Gabi Meyer is the site coordinator, and we formed a Lansing chapter of Food Rescue US, which is a national organization. Donors, what we do is our volunteers use their personal vehicles to go to donors and pick up the food that's donated and then take it to the agency, the nonprofit, immediately. We were able to, the donors include national chains. We have Panera, Whole Foods, Walnut, and Target would be examples of who we collect the food from. An interesting occurrence was that we have school districts that have joined us for being occasional donors preceding vacations. Okemos, Hazlitt, Grand Ledge, and Waverly have all participated this year. And so it's spreading in terms of word of mouth, which also is terrific. Roughly 5,000 pounds per month is what we're able to collect right now, being delivered to 10 different nonprofit agencies by volunteers, now totaling about 60. We have about 60 volunteers. So, still in our first year of operation, the food rescue, we're busy balancing the expectations of the number of recipients we have, agencies, the number of donors we need, and the number of volunteers. And so our future goals are to be determined. We haven't completed our first year yet, But recruiting food donors will always be a goal, and Andrew is working on a new one for us. So if any of you have ideas or connections, we're always looking for new donors for us to rescue food and provide it to nonprofits. So the story is, with a goal to reduce food waste and provide food to those in need, hundreds of people in our community have come together and worked together for the common good. Township services and staff were responsive with encouragement, expertise, and facilities. Business and educational enterprises have come forward and participated directly. Personally, it's been a very heartening experience. And it's uplifting to look about this room and realize that there are likely many similar stories within this community. So I'm glad to be here in this community. Thank you.
All right, excellent. And because Bill mentioned this, I know that the board has indicated an interest over the next, starting in a few meetings, having someone from a group come once a year probably, as well as having this meeting, to talk in greater depth about ways that the board can work with each individual board and commission. So you've asked for spring and summer. We'll make a note and see if we can't make that happen. Next up is the Community Resources Commission, and we have Georgia Steika, Naren Turamella, and Yvette Robinson.
Good evening. I'm Georgia Steika. I happen to be right this year, and last year I was the chairman of the Community Resources Commission. There are 3 of us that are here right now. There are 7 members. I actually wrote something down, so I'm going to read it. Okay. I'm always happy to come to this meeting. I'm always impressed by the number of knowledgeable and dedicated volunteers we have in Meridian Township. That can be said of the 7 members we have on the Community Resource Commission and our specialist, Katie Love, appropriately named, who we have the honor of working with. The 7 members on the commission are truly dedicated to the idea that all people of all ages deserve a community that cares for them and strives to help them in their time of need. We are a safety net for township residents facing financial hardships. Our Emergency Need Fund provides one-time yearly assistance to these households to prevent eviction or utility shutoff. Katie works diligently with them to provide additional resources and referrals to state and county services. Some of these people are facing this emergency for the very first time in their lives, and they have absolutely no idea who to turn to, where to go, or what to do. You call up Katie, within an hour, she will have you set on a path that will benefit you. She is a wonder. Our Emergency Needs Fund is funded 100% by donations, and 100% of these donations go directly to assist township residents in emergency needs. I don't know if you can say that of many charities. We maintain an ambulance waiver to assist eligible residents with ambulance costs. Last year, Meridian Cares assisted 96 families to avoid eviction or utility shutoff. This was an average of about $430 per family, but we do more, or Katie does. CATA provides us with discounted bus passes, thank you, CATA, that we purchase at a 40% discount and then make them available for purchase to residents with financial need. We partnered with the Kiwanis of Hazlet and Nokomis to pack and provide 240 backpacks to lower income families in the township with students. With the help of residents, we provided information where we coordinated sponsorships for 262 families for Thanksgiving assistance and 267 families with holiday food assistance. We have sponsored special events this year, like hosting an evening at Culver's where members were the ones that delivered your food to you. And maybe some of you saw this just recently, the Baby Bottle Boomerang. We do this not only to raise funds, but our goal this year is to spread the word of the existence of Community Cares, because I would venture if you ask 10 people, maybe 1 or 2 people will know that we even exist. Our goal this year is to make people aware of the Community Needs Fund. The last issue of the Meridian Township magazine had a nice one-page spread. Katie has gone on local TV, and several commission members have volunteered to speak on home TV. Yes. What can you do? As residents of Meridian Township, if you hear of a family or individual who is experiencing, excuse me, financial difficulties, please give them our name. The Meridian Township website has recently been revised to make access to Meridian Cares easier. Thank you. Go ahead.
I would like to add. Hello, everyone. I am Naren Turmela. I am new to this commission. I joined a year ago. This is my first year. And thanks to Trustee Wilson for introducing me to this commission. I'm a long-time resident in the township, 19 years. And one thing I would like to share is during the holiday, we handed over the food baskets and for the Christmas and the Thanksgiving. Our commission members, we took some of the things and we went to different apartment complexes. It was so emotional for me when I'm handing over the food, when the families received and they said, "Can I hug you?" I felt really emotional. Like there's so many people in our community which needed support, and I'm really glad to be part of the CRC commissions, helping the people when they need. So thank you for, opportunity.
Thank you. Next, we have our Communications Commission, and we have Leslie Charles, Lisa Whiting Dobson, and Mike Nevels. Oh, I thought I got you in the middle there. I'm sorry.
I just want to do a little advertisement for our Prime Meridian magazine, and this is the last page that was just mentioned about Meridian Cares. Just thought you might appreciate. This is why we keep this, and let other people know they should keep their copies as well. Obviously, communications, right? Yes. So, like many entities, I decided to start with that. Our commission starts on the inside and works its way to the outside. We'll start with home TV, our award-winning crown jewel, I call it, commanding national attention as well as being a model for Michigan, is something that we pride ourselves on. We support, the commission, the Communications Commission, support home TV and the staff that are small but mighty. And what we want them to do is to remain viable and enviable. That's the closest I could get to rhyming. So we, the former Cable Commission, recently thought about how we have been influenced by technology and the fact that cable has changed so much, our world is changing so much, that it has affected our numbers. It has affected our income, so to speak. It has declined, and yet what we want to do is make sure that we can continue to survive. Watch the streaming services as new ones pop up. What's the problem with that? As the delivery systems change, so does our funding. Because one thing that does remain the same is that cable is the source of franchise and PEG fees. And that has affected our budget, probably some of our potential for the future. We've watched streaming services pop up like wildflowers in the spring. Cable TV is no longer the gold standard. So what that happens for us is it's a huge challenge. What do we do? With streaming services now so abundant, we continue to suffer significant reduction in our income or in our revenue. And the result has been an unfortunate downsizing of the communications home TV operations. So our commission needs to explore the possibilities of finding new funding and thinking of the franchise and PEG fees equivalent of the future. What can we replace that with? So what we know is that we need to find new commissioners. We're small in number right now. And hopefully with the knowledge or skills, we keep visioning public relations, fundraising, and other creative capabilities to bolster our bottom line. The communications department is busy nonetheless. Right now immersed in the BEAD project. Raise your hands if you're familiar with the word BEAD. So, okay, and check your email when you go home. You might be hearing from them. BEAD stands for the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Program. And it's determining which citizens are served, underserved, or unserved with technology right now. In fact, we just entered today the 30-day challenge phase where people are going to be residents are going to be able to check their accessibility, reliability, and speed of connection to determine their level of service. So that's kind of a big thing that's going on. Despite the changes in projects, our commission focus remains the same: support HOM TV and the communications department, ensuring continuation of quality information to township residents. This being one of them. This is one of my favorites, by the way. Sorry to be personal here. From news PSAs to emergency communications and other public awareness efforts via the website, social media, and other sources. So we're small, but we're still out there. And working hard from the inside to make sure that we're reaching the outside. We are grateful to the board for its funding, and here is a sample. An order was just placed for new CAM equipment that will function into the next decade, maybe a little bit beyond. And this being an election year in May, start watching for the interns to be filming coverage for the August primary, holding candidate interviews. One of the things you've probably also watched is the decline of local news sources. That tells us all the more how important we are to our community. And we need to continue our programming, the great programming we've been known for, so we can continue being a prime influence for both our residents and our interns. When I first joined the commission, I saw a map in the studio, and I don't know if any of you remember this, but there were push pins for every intern who had finished the program. I don't know if it's called graduation, but that just hit me. It struck me that, wow, it's all over the world. And every former intern was marked where they were on our world map. And I don't know if you remember last year reading about an article during the hurricane. One of our former interns from Guam wrote a report, a personal report on what was happening there. And that's pretty significant, if you ask me, just to think about the fact that we have these connections all over our planet. So in ending, just as I started with this report, it all starts on the inside and reaches far beyond the outside. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll be hearing from our Economic Development Corporation with Kim Thompson.
Good evening. Excuse me. I am Kim Thompson, and I really am not happy I'm following that little ball of fire. But here goes. So this last year has actually been a little bit quiet for the Economic Development Corporation. We're doing all the things we have to do, but everybody ebbs and flows, and that's sort of what's happening with us right now. But I did want to mention that, and a few people have mentioned it before, that we have maintained our redevelopment ready status, which is a really great thing for our community because it allows all of us access to grants that we would not have availability for had we lost the redevelopment status. One of the things I wanted to mention is that one of the things as a committee that we thought was really important was getting the Meridian Mall designated a PICA area. Because the ones that we had before are, you know, there's things going on or not, but, sorry. But getting the mall to be a PICA area is really important because it opens up, the mall is it's complicated with the ownership structure, the parcel options, and just the financial strain, and just how everything is changing for them. Making them a PICA allows them to market itself as a redevelopment site and give more opportunities for that area. You know, the mall's doing what they can do, but malls are not what they used to be, unfortunately. The other thing that with our budget for last year that is important to us is that we support community advocacy. And in the last year, we have supported the Meridian Motorfest, the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, the Juneteenth celebration, and the Pride celebration. And this year, there's a new organization, well, I don't know how new they are, but it's young professionals in Lansing. It's called Lansing 501. And they are very dedicated to bringing new, vibrant young people to our area, and what they're doing with that is they've created this really great website. They're going to have billboards, and they're looking at us as an entire community and highlighting all the communities around. Well, Okemos and Hazlet have tabs in there. It's a beautiful website. I would suggest going to it. But it's great because we are all in this together, and we do need to attract new businesses and young dynamic people who want, to live and grow here. And I think that's about all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have our Board of Review. We've got Kathy Burchin.
Well, this comes as a shock to me too. I was wondering why I was seated in the front row. I did not get the memo.
But this will be, I guess, entitled Everything You Wanted to Know About the Board of Review But Were Afraid to Ask. So this is more of an informational part because there's things that we don't discuss from Board of Review. But the Board of Review is comprised of 6 appointed voters of the township and 2 alternates. So there's 6 that are full-time, 6 that are there, and then there's 2 that are alternates in case somebody can't make the meetings. It's split into 2 groups. 3 will meet with a group that comes in, and then the other 3 will meet in a different area. We are all township residents. We are appointed for a 2-year term. The bulk of the meetings are in March. There's 16 hours in March. And then there's a brief 1-hour meeting in July and in December. The State of Michigan Department of Treasury requires a 3-hour training course for each appointee to the board. And we are supposed to be using good judgment, the ability to listen to both sides of an issue, and the ability to handle a variety of personalities. The members are appointed and they are volunteers and they are compensated for their service. The Board of Review is very important to the local government taxation process. The board exists to ensure details on the assessment roll are accurate. As such, the board has the power to change property values. In March, the board has a brief organizational meeting on the first Tuesday. The meeting collaborates the schedules for the 2 3-person boards. and where the alternates are needed for the 2.5 days of appeals beginning on the second Monday in March. And those alternates are really important too, because of the 6 members that sit on this, most of the time these are people that work full-time. So we have used our alternates this year. Township property owners have the right to appeal the property values to the board at the March sessions only. The property owners schedule an appointment, have 10 minutes to present evidence to support the valuation. The board may ask questions and will determine as to what, if any, change should be made on the state tax commission rules and guidelines. In July and December, the entire board meets for a brief meeting to determine property exemptions and correct any qualified errors. There are applications that will come up every year because these are 2-year terms. If anybody is interested in volunteering and wants to put in an application, there is a place on Meridian Township.mi.us under how do I/apply/public service, but you can also call the assessing office, and that number is 517-853-4400. And ask for Ashley Winstead or email the assessor's office. And that is all I have, and thank you very much.
All right, next is the Corridor Improvement Authority from Chris Nugent. Bruce Peffers, pardon me.
Hi, I'm Bruce Peffers. I'm the current chair of the Corridor Improvement Authority, or CIA as we call it. We've been in existence since March of 2017. Most of the time, we're just served an advisory function. We would look over projects that were going on along the Grand River Corridor, and we would make suggestions, usually in the form of writing a letter. There were certain things that we wanted to do, but we never had the money to do it. So in November of last year, the Township Board approved a TIF program for us. And we were working on going through the final bits of the program, and we're waiting to have all the tax share agreements approved to pass. This is great timing with all the projects that are going, that are pending developments that are going along the corridor. And we intend to start with an integrated plan created by a design firm to align our development vision with the zoning of the district. And with a visual plan, we'll invite the community to indicate areas that they feel should be a priority. And the final product will be a visual plan with action items to implement that plan. So we're pretty excited about that. That's all.
Okay. Next up, we have, I think, almost our entire local officers' compensation commission. We've got Steve Vagnozzi, Jim Winsand, and Tanya Pratt, who I can see has it on her placard, so she knew she was here for that.
Had I known that being on this commission would only get me a box dinner from Honey Baked Ham every other year, I might have stayed on the Transportation Commission. I do want to share something personal. I've lived in this community for almost 50 years. The first 10 years in Hazlet and the rest of the time in Okemos. And over those 50 years, Meridian Township has developed into what I would say is the textbook example of community. And as I just let out, the commission meets every 2 years. The purpose of the commission is to set the salaries of elected officials. And when we met, We made our decision based on data, using comparable communities. First thing, this being my first trip on this commission after the Transportation Commission, you see trends. The salaries in the Metro Detroit area are noticeably higher than in the rest of the state. But we tried to find comparable communities and townships and adjusting for the fact that their salaries in the Metro Detroit area, when we'd find a comparable community like West Bloomfield, were higher. In the end, we agreed to give the elected officers of the township the same percentage increase that the township staff got. There's my short and simple report, and you won't have to see me again for 2 years. I may come for the dinner.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, next from our Lake Lansing Advisory Board, we have Kurt Armbruster.
Thank you. Nice to be here. My name is Kurt Armbruster, and I'm chair of the Lake Lansing, actually our official name is Lake Lansing Watershed Special Assessment District Advisory Committee. We do less than that. Our challenge is to basically manage the water quality on Lake Lansing. We are funded by a special assessment district, which is composed of all the properties around Lake Lansing, which is called Tier 1. That's the properties that abut on or riparians that abuts onto the water. And then a Tier 2 is roughly a 2-block area surrounding the lake. And that, along with a contribution from Meridian Township and Ingham County, comprises our $90,000 budget a year. And with that, we do a number of things. Regularly, every year, we test the water for, take water samples and test it for the different nutrients. And we also do surveys, which then lead to a harvest by a harvester. And the survey might also lead to chemical treatment of the lake. For invasive species, we can chemically treat. And for native species in shoreline areas, we can harvest. And the harvesting makes the lake more usable, but also removes biomass from the lake and the associated nutrients, particularly phosphorus. So we do that stuff every year. In the last year or two, and because of COVID and whatever, a couple of these projects have taken a little longer. We've got we just completed a natural shorelines demonstration project, and that's on the corner, I'm lost, but on the corner of Lake Lansing and Shaw Street. There's a vacant piece of property that the county owns there before, and so we put a demonstration project, it's about 40 feet long, of what a natural shoreline would look like, so that the residents or anybody else on the lake could, if they wanted to do a natural shoreline, could do that and gain the benefits that a shoreline provides. We participated with the county. The county is in the process of redoing the boat launch, and we participated with them and got a second boat washing station in the boat launch, and it'll be better when the whole boat launch gets done. And right now, the township's got it all torn up, so they're replacing their sewer pumping station. But there's always been a boat watch there, but it was positioned in such a way so that they were cleaning the boats as they leave. And we're really interested in having the boats cleaned before they go in the lake, so they're not bringing invasive species and bad stuff into the lake. So that's what the new station does. It's in the area where you launch your boat. And we've worked hard for the last 2 or 3 years on education. We're sending out newsletters twice a year to all the residents on the lake, or all the residents actually in the assessment district. And we've just started expanding that newsletter. We found that the subdivision north up by the Speedway, Meadowbrook, their water comes down into the lake. And it's actually in Clinton County, and the Clinton County Drain Commissioner was more than happy to work with us. And we've been testing their water there, and we found some nutrients in there, so we're trying to start a little education program up there and figure out a way to reduce the nutrients coming down from the Meadowbrook subdivision. And we're also going to start working with the, I guess I don't know the name of the subdivision, the trails over on the northeast side of the lake, because all of their water, the runoff water, goes into the wetlands and then eventually into the lake. This next thing that we're involved in right now, and during the end of last year, we're involved, the dam on Lake Lansing needs some repairs. And that is not our direct responsibility, and we're not directly involved in it, but because the drain commissioner, a representative of the drain commissioner sits on our board, and because we meet regularly, we became a vehicle for communication with the Lake Lansing residents. So last fall, in November and December, into January, we held some meetings and got the communications started. The real responsibility for communications with the drain commission and with the county about the dam is with the LLPOA, which is the Lake Lansing Property Owners Association. And so we've kind of stepped out of that now, but we did play a part in getting that conversation started. The LLPOA has got their own dam committee, and they're working with the drain commission and actually the county commissioners, because ultimate responsibility lies with the county commissioners on the dam. So that was just kind of a sidelight that we ended up spending a lot of time on for the last 3 or 4 months. For the coming year, we of course are going to do our testing and stuff. We're working on the nutrients from the watersheds to the north of us, and we're going to try and get some fish information going. Over the years, there hasn't been a lot of fish studies on the lake, and there's a lot of interest in finding out what the fish population is and so on and so forth. So we're going to work with that a little bit, and we're going to continue our education outreach and get it going to the new areas that I spoke of. That's all. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next we've got Kathleen Fay of the Land Preservation Advisory Board.
Good evening. I have to say that Mary said much of what I had been given to say, but I just want to flesh out a couple of things. Some of the statistics that go around our activities for the year have been that we harvested 600,000 seeds out of our preserves and then turned around and planted 588 of them back in other preserves, so that we're trying to preserve the natural plants that grow in this area and repopulate them back into our preserves. Our volunteers that pick up trash to help keep them out of our wetlands picked up 3,500 pounds of trash last year. We also removed 2,500 pounds of invasive herbaceous plants from our preserves. Those are things like garlic mustard and Dame's Rocket. We've identified and verified 14 vernal pools, and that's kind of a new environmental feature that we're looking at now. A vernal pool is seasonal, and it's got a lot of little interesting creatures. We have educational programs, and we also take people out if you ever want to learn about a vernal pool. We had 16 educational programs last year. In '24, our goals are to expand our preserves to be more inclusive, also to improve our management practices. We will have more prescribed burns, and we want to increase our awareness and accessibility of the preserves that we have here in Meridian Township. And then the last thing I want to say that didn't come up with the Parks Commission, but Emma Campbell, our land stewardship coordinator, and you talk about a fireball, somebody used that term tonight. Emma is one of those. And she has been appointed to the advisory committee for Michigan Waterway Stewards. And if you're not familiar with them, they've been in the news lately for all of the scooters that they've helped pull out of the Red Cedar River. So that's really a good fit, because we really house so much of the Red Cedar River. It's an important part of our natural features here in this township. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And as is the nature of the alphabet, last and not least is our Zoning Board of Appeals. Do we have Anthony Bennett?
I'm a little bit less surprised after two surprises. So for those that don't know, the Zoning Board of Appeals meets once a month. And it's basically for anyone that wants to do any type of development or building or addition or anything like that that goes directly against one of our zoning laws, but there is a viable means of an appeal. Basically, our goal has been to try to preserve the idea of a prime community and keep with the ideals of Meridian Township, with, not quite so strict interpretations of the zoning laws. I have been on the board as an alternate since, I believe, July. That was my first meeting, and I became a full-time member in January. So still very fresh, very new, but looking forward to trying to keep Meridian Township, the wonderful community that I moved to last spring. Yeah, last spring. So new to the community, new to the board, trying to keep it short and sweet, but yeah, excited to stay with everyone and work with the community.
Thank you very much. Well, my goodness, I mean, what an austere group of people we have here. Meridian Township, part of the reasons why we're such a great community is because of the tremendous work of volunteers like you, and we absolutely appreciate that. I've created a highlight list, and this is just some things that stuck out to me, and just to top level bullet points. 6,900 pounds of food donated from the marketplace last year. We passed our master plan in 2023. That's 2 solid years of work by the Planning Commission and staff. 250,000 people, 250,000 people visiting our parks over the last several years. Top-notch pension stewardship, emergency assistance funded 100% by donations. We're expanding broadband in our community and protecting home TV. We recertified in our redevelopment ready certification. Our residents, we ensure that our residents are heard when it comes to their property values, and that their property value appeals are heard as well. We're ensuring the quality of our water in Lake Lansing, and volunteers have picked up 3,500 pounds of trash from our wetlands. It's an amazing list. And I wrote this, I don't know why I didn't say it. We have 2 of the top circulating libraries in the area. we have a lot of great things going on. And so from us to you, thank you so much for the incredible, incredible work that you do. And I'm going to make a very small pitch to you now, which is you all have friends. And we have vacancies. And I can tell from the energy and the excitement that you all brought tonight and every meeting that you come to, that you love the work that you do. And if you have anyone in your lives that are interested in joining and being a part of these boards and commissions that you've come to know and enjoy, please encourage them to go to our website, meridian.mi.us. The application process couldn't be simpler, and the work couldn't be more rewarding. So please twist arms, drag people here if you need to. Once you get started, you can't go back. I'm Exhibit A for that. So please encourage anyone you can to come out and do that. Any other board members? Treasurer DeShane.
Thank you. I too want to thank you all for being here tonight and all the work you put into our boards and commissions. We do need more of you, but the work you're all doing is fantastic. Bill, you mentioned the green grant. The original green grant, the Environmental Commission put forward, received a statewide award this year from the National Society of Arborists. Got the State of Michigan Community Beautification Award. We hold these meetings in part because we need to know what's going on with you. And I think it was a conversation Bill and I might have had after a meeting 3 or 4 years ago about possibility of grants. Could you do something with grants? And he said, well, heck yeah, we could. So the Township Board provided funding, and now it's doubled and doubled again. We got grants going to schools, various community centers, really expanding the work of the Environmental Commission and being seen in many different areas. We need to hear what you're doing, and we want to help you when we can. We have a job of passing ordinances and other things like that, but we're not close to the actual activities of our boards and commissions as all of you are. So please keep coming to these meetings. Please reach out to any of us. We do want to hear from you, and we'll be as responsive as we can. So thank you all again for your time. You make Meridian Prime.
Seeing none. This is still a public meeting, so we'll call for comments from the public. I didn't see any green cards come up. I think everyone in the room has had a chance to speak who wanted to, but we'll open that up just in case. Seeing none, we'll move to our last item on the agenda, which is adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Trustee Wilson. Supported by Trustee Trezise. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the board stands adjourned at 7:48.